Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today to talk about the new moon in Pisces on February 19th, 2023 at 11:50 p.m. Pacific time. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about some of the things that I think are influencing this new moon. And then I'm going to go sign by sign and let you know how this will play out for you. What houses will be affected and how can you best use this new moon to set intentions for experiences that you want to have moving forward. This is based on whole sign Western astrology. And if you don't know your rising sign, when I refer to the house, it's going to be Aries rising, Gemini rising, Scorpio rising. If you don't know your rising sign, go to one of the free birth calculators. You just need your time of birth and location in order to determine that information. You may also want to check your moon. I think the moon is the second most influential planet because humans are emotional by nature and we manifest on that emotion. And that emotion will indicate what we believe about the situation or the opportunity before us. I also want to say that I did some videos for each sign about Saturn moving into Pisces and Pluto moving into Aquarius. The ironic part of that is during the week, last week when I was recording them, Saturn rules teeth, and one of my molars moved in my mouth and is out of alignment. And then I had plumbing issues. Pluto rules plumbing. It rules where toxic waste is released. So please excuse the slight lisp that I have. I am trying to get a hold of a dentist right now to rectify the situation. But we will soldier on because that's what Saturn likes from us. And speaking of Saturn, Saturn is going to be conjunct this new moon. Saturn is at 28 degrees Aquarius on the 19th, and the Pisces new moon is at 1 degree. I believe that this is really powerful because not only does a new moon set intentions and plant the seeds for things, this is also going to give us a glimpse of what it's going to feel like when Saturn moves into Pisces for the next 2 years until February 2026. In addition to that, there is a loose trine to the South Node in Scorpio at 6 degrees. So I think there's going to be a real opportunity for us to see where we may have given up power and control. That would be the trine to Scorpio, the South Node in Scorpio. This is going to be where there's the potential that we have been operating under illusions. And I want to offer it this way because oftentimes those illusions are our own power, our own ability to create. And Pisces being a mutable sign, we can sometimes think that we actually need others or need something from others in order to move forward. And that may not always be the case because Saturn is going to say that you can build. Now, let me I want to back up a little bit here because I've been having this conversation with Saturn recently. I literally talked to the planet, and we know Saturn was a Titan. Saturn was the 12th Titan, the very last one. Saturn ruled during the Golden Age, and people prospered. And he taught agriculture as well as many other ancient dynamics for manifestation. And so I started thinking to myself how over the years, the human has superimposed human structure on what Saturn represents. Because if we think about Saturn representing responsibility and duty and obligation and being committed to a situation, if we think about it from the divine laws of the universe, when we are committed to our belief in ourselves and the divine law of attraction, and then the law of allowing and the law of ebb and flow, then we start to master things in a way that is magical. And I believe that this is what Saturn has really represented when he's asking for us to be obligated, responsible, committed, beyond our own emotional comfort. And then there is the reward. So I'm really starting to think of how interesting it is that humans have superimposed on a God energy being Saturn the Titan. Saturn gave birth to like Pluto and Jupiter and some of the other planets. It's an interesting thing to read about in mythology. So I want to offer this to you because as Saturn is making a conjunction to Pisces and moving into Pisces, this is an opportunity to master the skills of the universe, the divine laws, and to be more willing to look at where we have deceived ourselves in feeling we are not powerful, where we have taken the 12th house energies and looked at it from a human perception. I can't see you from the back of my head. No, because we're supposed to feel things in an energetic, intuitive way that allows our inner knowing to be the primary and dominant voice in our heads. And then we go under the veil of the human experience to feel the power of that creation. It's magical, really. So I'm excited about this, and I'm a little nervous, I'll be honest, because I don't like going to the dentist, and my dentist that I trusted retired. So anyway, I digress. We are also experiencing on the same day as this new moon in Pisces, Venus will be sextile exact. She's at 29 degrees Pisces, and she will make an exact sextile to Pluto at 29 degrees Capricorn. And Pluto is about to move into Aquarius. So I believe this conversation is really about, again, here's Venus in Pisces. This is the last moments in her best friend's house at the Leo degree. I believe that this is a creative aspect. I believe that Pluto is asking Venus to have confidence in herself, to build on her own imaginations and musing. And this is where it's kind of a fine line, because when we go into giving our power away to another to help us endeavor things, how can I say this more succinctly? Sometimes I think because Venus rules partnership, when we're afraid that we can't endeavor something on our own, we make partnerships and we don't really see that partnership clearly. We're not walking into it as a powerful co-creator with the other energy. Rather, we're looking for something to lift us up, support us, make us feel more comfortable through our fears. Here's that Capricorn Saturn influence. And I think this is where Pluto is really digging deep. We are still seeing a conjunction between Venus and Neptune. Neptune is at 24 degrees Pisces, and Venus has moved on. So I think this is about taking leadership with your creative ideas. And this is not about just art and music. This is about creating your life and what that looks like, because that's what Capricorn wants to do. It wants to build, and Pluto wants to build it on authenticity. At the same time, we have Mercury on the same day. All these conversations are happening in the sky. Mercury is at 12 degrees Aquarius, and it's making a square to Uranus at 15 degrees Taurus. And this is interesting because Mercury is a lower octave of Uranus. Mercury rules our everyday human thoughts, while Uranus rules thoughts that are out in space, which is why I kind of decided to do this background today. I thought it was kind of a fun new thing to do, for me at least, because I think this is the square. Okay, if you guys, some of you are new to my channel, I believe a square is this tense conversation between an old human patterned imprinted part of myself where I react. And then the other part is this new, not quite grounded, not quite rooted or tested version of myself. So here Mercury would be the old version, my everyday thoughts running around monkey mind. And Uranus would be this wanting to build in Taurus, this new bright energy that's innovative and out and forward thinking. And there's this tense conversation happening. And at the same time, Mercury is making a trine to Mars at 15 degrees Gemini, saying, be brave in your thoughts, be brave in stretching beyond the human structure. It is so limiting. It is so repressive by nature. And when we do this, we become powerful co-creators that are able to traverse both sides of the energy and become harmonious in the divine law of ebb and flow. Because Mercury trining Mars is also making a sextile. Mars is making a sextile to Chiron in Aquarius, which is an opportunity to extract the gift rather than to focus on the wound by being brave, Aries. Mars rules Aries, in the way that I'm thinking. And this is never, I never want you to interpret that it's about going back and regretting something like time lost or opportunities. This is about an awareness in the moment and allowing that moment to really co-create your future. It's really very magical and very exciting to be here, and a little, as I said earlier, a little scary. So let's go on to the signs and talk about the houses that this is going to affect. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about where the new moon will be, but then I'm going to talk about where some of these aspects are going to be, because while each one of these houses, it may seem like a lot, there is a common theme to each situation. So let's start with our Aries, because the Pisces new moon is in your 12th house. And that 12th house is giving you an opportunity to plant seeds for you to, in many ways, reconcile and extract the wisdom from anywhere in your life that you feel unseen, where you feel that you're getting in your own way. Because you could be, Mars has been in Gemini and you could be very frustrated. Gemini is your third house of, moving the story forward. It also has a lot to do with your siblings. But I want to offer it this way, because here I believe that with this conjunction with Saturn, it's an opportunity to reconcile and extract the wisdom from ancestral patterns and past life energies that have no longer benefited you and do not serve your highest and greatest good. Because this is the energy that's happening with Saturn at the edge of Aquarius is giving you an opportunity to extract your hopes and dreams from this time. I'm not going to go to networks. I'm not going to go to the nervous system. I'm going to go to the idea that Aquarius is an upachaya house. It is reward over time. It is co-ruled by Saturn. And Saturn is like, wow, when you have this epiphany, Aries, that you're powerful, not because you take action in the physical world, but because you're brave to see the type of action and the vibration of the action that you're taking, you're going to be powerful co-creator and moving your story forward. Because the Venus conversation with Pluto in Capricorn is really this sextile between your 10th house of career and public image and your 12th house of ancestral patterns and of extracting, you can also look at this as being able to creatively start to feel your mojo, to see this Piscean, whimsical, fanciful, fun, creative energy, start to feel it getting some traction in your 10th house energy. And this is super exciting because we know that Pluto rewards with money, and so does Saturn. And these two energies, while most people think they're malefic, what they are doing is ripping off the human band-aid, the human binky called structure and reality and practicality, and infusing the truth of the universe in that you are a co-creator. And humans don't like that, because when we're walking through a challenging time, we don't want to be responsible and we don't want to think we did it to ourselves. There are extreme circumstances, and everything has an opportunity and an obstacle attached to it. So here we're also going to see with Mercury having this conversation in your 11th house, with Uranus in your 2nd house, and with Gemini in your 3rd house, and with Chiron in Aries in your 1st house, Mars being in your 3rd house. So there is a real opportunity to look at how you are showing up. The 1st house, the 2nd house, and the 3rd house. The 1st house is self. So here's Mercury, having this tense conversation with Uranus, wanting to liberate you from the 2nd house Taurus family history that has tethered you to a story that is no longer true or applicable. And I want to offer it this way, because Aries is a hero. And because people depict you as angry and resentful and the warrior in a negative way, they don't give life to how much knee-jerk and instinctual energy must take place to run inside of a fire or an emergency situation and keep your head about you. So I think that there's a real opportunity for you to take this new moon and really look at how you're showing up in your first, second, and third house energies. And as you transform through your authenticity and your bravery and your courage, it will reveal itself in your 10th and 11th and 12th house energies, where you will make money potentially and feel benefit and thrive through the reconciliation, not the release, of your 12th house energies. Okay, so now Taurus, we're going to see a little theme going on with you as well, because here we're going to see this new moon energy in your 11th house of hopes and dreams. This is Pisces, and I'm not focusing in on networks right now. I'm focusing in on an interior energy, because ultimately Saturn is going to move into Pisces, and I think this is really about identifying those ancestral patterns, those things that we cannot see about ourselves that influence how we show up and how we manifest and how we feel happiness in the world. So that's the theme of this new moon for me, being Pisces. Layering the human structure of our everyday lives on top of that, you get to look at your houses so you can do that, because it's a be, do, have. What we believe is how we take our actions, and how we take our actions is how we manifest. So what we're seeing here is Capricorn is your 9th house, Aquarius is your 10th house, Pisces is your 11th house. So as you put intentions into this new moon of what you want, and you're willing to really look at Saturn from a new perception, Saturn asking you to implement the structure of the universal laws rather than human structure. And that's where I think most astrologers have inadvertently focused on limitation, restriction, and government authority rather than godly authority. I love that. So here we'll see the conversation between Venus and Pluto is happening in your 9th and 11th houses. So as Capricorn representing your 9th house, Taurus, your beliefs shift. Your ability to connect with the divine becomes more tangible to you, and you start to benefit through your 11th house. And this is fabulous, because this is the house of hopes and dreams. It's the house that Saturn rewards naturally, because it's Aquarius, so it's a reward for efforts over time. Now Mercury is coming into the picture, asking you to start thinking about Aries is your 12th house, Gemini is your 2nd house, and obviously Taurus is your 1st house. So Mercury is having a conversation with you in your 1st house and Uranus, saying which direction you go. Are you going to remain so fixed in your viewpoint that you won't allow yourself to shift? Or are you willing? That's the Aries energy. This is the trine between Mercury and Mars in this is the sextile between Mars and Chiron, Mars being in Gemini and Chiron being in your 1st house of expression and self. Chiron is at 13 degrees right now, which is the Aryan degree, an opportunity to turn the wound into a gift. And for Taurus, this is what I think Uranus has been doing since it moved into your 1st house. At the same time, Mercury in Aquarius in your 10th house is having a conversation with Mars in your 2nd house. So this is an opportunity for this 10th house and this 2nd house to make money. They're both money houses, as is the 11th house where Pisces is, where you can set intentions for this new moon. Okay, let's go on to Gemini. The new moon is in your 10th house. Pisces is your 10th house. And this is an opportunity for you to really start to look and see, how do I want to plant the seeds for my future and my career and how I view myself? And I want to offer this because we talk about the change of status, a public change of status. And often, again, we categorize these things in ways that are not allowing for the detail, because we go, oh, we see you as a government official in the 10th house. We see you getting married in the 10th house. We see you having a baby in the 10th house. It also could be a house where you make a decision that is so true to your heart that it becomes palatable to the people who observe you. And this becomes an opportunity for you to stand in leadership. So I really want to just broaden the human categorization of these houses, these planets, and these signs, because I think this is a real opportunity. I think Gemini has had a hard time having Mars in your first house, because I think he's been asking you to really kind of settle in on a direction that you want to go and be brave. And Mars can be frustrated when it gets held back. So this is something where, as you set intentions in your 10th house, you get to transform under, your 9th house influences. As Saturn is at those later degrees of Aquarius, that's your 9th house. It's a rewriting what you believe and how you feel, and it's going to lift any mask of disempowerment, any illusions that don't really, I want to say it this way, illusions of holding yourself small or not smart enough or not, able enough, or having too many other obligations around you that doesn't put the self at a priority, because I think this is the opportunity. And when Capricorn is your 8th house, it's transforming from a way that's very grounded, very realistic, meaning people around you will see it, which is why I think this new moon is in your 10th house. And this transformation of Aquarius going, where no man has gone before, in your ability to believe things new and innovative and inventive about yourself. Now, Mercury, your ruling planet, is having a conversation with Uranus in your 12th house of Taurus, and it's having a conversation with Mars in Mars is your, Gemini is your first house, but Aquarius is your 9th house. So this is a real opportunity to take advantage of that trine, to take all the information you have garnished from yourself and how you show up out in the world over the last 6.5, almost 7 months that this planet has been in your first house, which is practically unprecedented. It usually stays, like a blink of an eye in a house. And here it is staying over half a year in your house. Lots of opportunities for renovation and for realization. So this is very exciting. And now Mars making the sextile to Chiron in your 11th house. Again, this 11th house, hopes and dreams. There is so much on the docket for those that are aware and conscious and accepting and surrendering to the ebb and the flow, the up and the down of the human experience, but infusing a godlike divine laws blanket over that will make you a powerful manifester. So I'm really excited about this new moon and the influences it has to offer us. Let's go on to our Cancers. This new moon is going to be in your 9th house. Pisces is your 9th house, and it's going to be having that conversation with Saturn in your 8th house. So again, we're seeing this combination of opportunity to transform your beliefs about yourself. And we see that Venus is having a conversation from your 9th house into your 7th house. I want to offer this too for my Cancers, because we're looking at partnership house, the 7th house, the 8th house, the commingling of my finances and my body with another person, and Pisces being the 9th house of having, really spiritual, deep beliefs about how I want to be in this world and how I want to show up and how I want to feel connected to others and to my intimate partner. So what I want to offer here is this new moon is giving you an opportunity to see potentially where you may be doing a crab crawl, where you may be holding yourself small or feel insignificant in some way, Pisces, out there in the big world. And now this is an opportunity to transform as you allow your individuality, Aquarius, to bring you forward. And this Saturn in Capricorn is asking you, I think, to be aware of the need for self-nurturing within your partnerships, the need to build a sense of individuality within a couplehood. Saturn, to me, in Aquarius, right now, the transiting Saturn, Capricorn being your 7th house and making that loose trine to Scorpio, to the south node in Scorpio, makes me feel as if this isn't about the masks that other people have worn in front of you as much as the mask you've worn to yourself about potentially not feeling important and not feeling significant. The Cancer sign is the very lowest house on the zodiac. So it's literally like the atlas of the zodiac holding up the whole zodiac. And now we're seeing this energy in the houses, this new moon in the house of the unseen, of the house of the self-undoing in some way. And I think this comes from a perception of overly nurturing others and maybe not nurturing yourself, and then ignoring this intuitive energy that's saying, no, it's important for you to take care of you. Because as Mercury is in Aquarius, making aspects here to Taurus, which is your 11th house, this is a square to Uranus. Again, a tense conversation between an everyday thought or an everyday feeling of obligation versus an opportunity to reinvent myself and to innovate my viewpoint, and seeing that as I take care of my hopes and dreams, I actually do nurture others. Because Mercury in Aquarius is making a trine to your 12th house of the unseen, Mars in Gemini, giving you an opportunity to be brave about, do you need others to see you, or are you seeing yourself? Because Gemini is always about a duality, about two of something. And here Mars is wanting to be seen as an individual. And then we have Mars making a sextile to Chiron in your 10th house. So your shifting will be visible to other people. This is another change in public status that I think is beneficial, because there's an opportunity to be brave. And now your wound, you're disempowering, you're holding yourself small, you're overly nurturing others rather than nurturing yourself, will transform into a place of actually nurturing people in a more effective and powerful way. I think it's fabulous. I think all these things are fabulous when I'm doing the videos. And then when I'm living through them, I'm like, oh my God. Anyway, all right, Leo. Pisces is your 8th house. So this new moon is going to be in your 8th house, conjunct your 7th house of partnerships, Saturn being at 28 degrees Aquarius. I think this is going to give you an opportunity to really see where, on the challenging side of Leo, there's a needing of the audience, right? A needing of the applause, because you're a performer, you rule entertainment and joy and laughter and frivolity and romance and the conception of children. So there's a sexual element here. And having Pisces in your 8th house, there could be this illusion of giving up your power to another person or overly dominating another energy. And I think here, this is where your 7th house Aquarius energy is going to ask you on some level, because Saturn's at the 28th degree, Pisces is at the 1st degree. There is a theme of ones. How are you thinking? What are you thinking? And if indeed your energy has been like, well, I can't do what I want to do for me till that person does whatever they need to do, or that situation needs to come to fruition, this is about rethinking that, because I believe Saturn is going to throw a blanket on that and say, I actually think there's more things that can be done. The very first thing is working on your being energy. What do you really believe about yourself? New moon in Pisces at that 1st degree, which is the Aryan degree about being brave and asserting yourself out into the world. And one of the challenging sides of Leo is, not wanting to reveal your heart, being afraid and feeling timid about expressing yourself out into the world. Because now we're going to see Venus in your 8th house of transformation having a harmonious conversation with Pluto, both exact at 29 degrees. Here we see the 29 reducing down to the master number of thought. 29th degree is also the Leo degree. So this new moon is very powerful in you being able to really look at how you are allowing for yourself to be healed mentally, emotionally, and physically, Capricorn, your 6th house, and, allow yourself to birth a new version of yourself. Allow your creativity to now start to create a connection with others through empowerment, not through your disempowerment. Now we see Mercury making aspects to Mercury being in Aquarius, your 7th house of partnership, making aspects to Uranus in Taurus, that is your 10th house, making an aspect to Mars in Gemini, which is your 11th house, and then Mars is making an aspect to Chiron in your 9th house. I think what's going on here is this energy, and what you've done when you've set your intentions in this new moon is going to make it very visible to others, your transformation. And I think this is going to be a sense of confidence that comes through. Here we see Uranus liberating you here in your 10th house, in the house of the public eye. And we know Capricorn naturally rules the 10th house, and Venus and Pluto have just had this very harmonious conversation about mastering my thought and building anew upon that, and building it so that I have self-worth and confidence beyond the story that I've lived, my family history. My hand disappeared. How funny. Sorry. Anyway, I'm not used to using backgrounds. And I want to offer it this way, because Mars being in Gemini, this is in your 11th house, your hopes and your dreams. And now Mars is making a positive aspect to Aries, your 9th house, which is giving you an opportunity to redefine the who am I, what am I, and why am I here that the 9th house represents, those big philosophical thoughts. And when you start to realize I'm not here for any other purpose than to express joy, to have fun, to know that the ride of fear and empowerment are two sides to one coin, and that, you know, there's an exhilaration there when we are aware of the laws of the universe, and we are willing to be conscious. We're willing to be let go of shame and guilt and regret, and instead say, this is just another piece of information that helps me to be a more powerful co-creator. Very exciting times coming up. All right, let's go on to our Virgos. We're going to see this new moon in your 7th house of partnerships. Again, Pisces is at the 1st degree, and it's going to be making a conjunction to Saturn at 28 degrees in your 6th house of Aquarius. I think that this for you guys is about something to do with calming your mind down a little bit, allowing yourself a bit of a privilege to sort of set an intention about how you want to feel in partnerships. And I do believe that this is letting go of any illusions, where, you know, masks that are being worn around you, as well any masks that you may be wearing, although I don't really think of Virgo as a mask wearer. And depending upon your natal chart, you'll be able to know if indeed you are inadvertently not paying attention to some sort of underbelly, some sort of psychological underbelly that you're operating on. And that might potentially be some sort of duty or some sort of obligation, or having to finish a process. We know the 6th house in Virgo by nature rules service to others, and this is an obligatory service. So I think that there's an opportunity here with Saturn at this 28th degree, which reduces down to a 1. We have the Pisces new moon, which reduces down to a 1, and Mercury being your ruling sign. This is all about how you think and how you process. And if you are kind of sort of giving into the monkey mind as it, you know, goes on the hamster wheel, or are you willing to actually say, what if there's something different out there? What if there's a new story? And just sort of really kind of make a focused intention to shift your thought. Because now Venus at 29 degrees Pisces in your 7th house is making a sextile at 29 degrees Pluto in Capricorn, your 5th house. And I think this is really kind of a conception. I want to offer it this way. There could be, you know, we can look at the 5th house as creative, but here I'm really seeing it more as building a structure of your own personal enjoyment and pleasure, as you've reconciled a little bit more about what is my self-worth and what is the structure of my mind in relation to how I see my self-worth. This is all the Venus-Pluto conversation in your 5th house of Capricorn. Now, your ruling planet Mercury is having some conversations. The first one is a tense conversation with Uranus. You know, this sort of knowing this is in your 9th house of Taurus. So your belief system is up for renewal, for renovation, for a review, as Mercury is at 12 degrees Aquarius, at 12th degree being the Piscean degree. So that could be, where don't I see myself? And Aquarius, allowing yourself to liberate yourself. And Uranus rules Aquarius. So the energy here is one of letting the fixed energy of my history be not released or eliminated, but rather asking again that conscious question, is this relevant today? Because I believe a square is this tense conversation between a pattern imprinted way of being and thinking and the concept and the, the implementation of a new way of thinking that is not rooted into my reality just yet. So here we have this opportunity to liberate ourselves, but I still feel a sense of service and obligation because I'm a Virgo. And that's how I roll. So now Mercury, your ruling planet, is having a trine aspect to Mars in Gemini in your 10th house. I believe this is an opportunity to start to, as you become aware of your own patterns, I think Mars is going to implement a brave way of thinking. And it is not necessarily about you dispensing this information to others as much as it feels like an interior job, because Mars is making a sextile to Chiron, and Chiron is in Aries in your 8th house. There's transformation to be had here. There is an opportunity to reinvent yourself to yourself that allows yourself to be seen differently in the public eye. And I think it's going to take a lot of bravery, because there are certain signs that feel a real strong pull to be of service. But as you're of service to yourself, you are truly of better service to those that observe you, because it gives them permission to put themselves at a priority. All right, Libra. This new moon in Pisces is going to be in your 6th house, again, of health and service. It's going to be making a conversation to Saturn in your 5th house. And the 5th house is, again, Aquarius. But this 5th house is of enjoyment and pleasure and of laughter and frivolity. And I feel as if here, Pisces new moon at 1 degree, Saturn is at 28 degrees, which reduces down to a 1, a 10 is a 1. We're seeing big themes about thought here when we get down to these, looking at the idiosyncrasies, the nuances of these transits. And I think that this is a really important moment, because it's going to give us a glimpse into the next 2 years and what it's going to feel like when Saturn moves into Pisces. And I think this is an opportunity to, I think, because the new moon is in your 6th house, is to see yourself in a way that your service is really broader than you may think it is. Pisces is the house of the unseen, and the 6th house is the house of service to others. And I could go into your health, yes, but I don't think so, because this is a theme. This new moon is affecting your 5th and your 4th house, I think, significantly. So there's a rewriting of who you are and how you show up and how you feel at home, and how that actually nurtures and creates harmony for others. And that's your real service. So here we see, Saturn at the 28th degree in the house of pleasure and fun. And I think this is an opportunity to put those structures, thinking of having game night for your family, or implementing fun so that people see you not just always being cooperative in partnership, or on the flip side, challenging side of Libra is to be passive aggressive when you don't get what you want from others. But when you give it to yourself, there's no need for that energy. So I think this is super powerful. And Venus in Pisces in your 6th house is making a sextile to Pluto, both at 29 degrees. Pluto's in Capricorn, has been forever and a day. 29 reduces down to the master number 11. So we saw the new moon at a 1. We saw Saturn at a 28 degree, which reduces down to a 10, which reduces down to a 1. And now Venus and Pluto are having a conversation about the master number of thought, which is where we manifest from. And this is happening in your 4th house. So you're getting to really rewrite how you feel confident as a result of how you experienced your family dynamic, or how you experience your family dynamic now. And Mercury, the planet of thought, is having a tense conversation, Mercury at 12 degrees Aquarius, with Uranus. There's that square, that old part of me is on one side, and that new part of me that hasn't quite been rooted into the ground. And this is happening in your house. Aquarius is your 5th house, fun and pleasure, and Taurus is your house of transformation of other people. So this is an opportunity, while it's a tense conversation and you're used to thinking about other people and creating pleasure and enjoyment for them, maybe this is an opportunity for you to create pleasure and enjoyment for yourself and see how that stands in leadership for others. Because Mercury is making a trine to Mars in Gemini in your 9th house of beliefs. And, you know, I could talk about foreign people, foreign places, foreign things. I think this is really important because Gemini is your 9th house. So this is Mercury making a trine to its natural rulership. And in the 9th house, so I'm renovating those old sort of mundane thoughts into broader thoughts that serve not just other people, but myself too. And this is what I've been wanting as a Libra, because Aries is in your 7th. Aries is your 7th house, and Mars is making a sextile to Chiron. So there is a wound that is being healed as you allow it to be revealed, the gift of your own individuality within partnership and within your service to others. That's a partnership in and of itself. It will also bring you more ease that will take any stresses off, or at least lower them a bit. So I think this is super important. Okay, Scorpio, this Pisces new moon is in your 5th house of romance and pleasure and entertainment and hobbies and of sex. There's sex in that house, I will say. It's also about creation. We see this new moon making a aspect to your 4th house where Saturn is sitting as it's about to transit into your 5th house. So I think this is an opportunity for you to really look at the structures that you have built, about how you have given yourself permission to feel the more warm, fuzzy 5th house energies. Pisces in the 5th house feel kind of cooperative to me, because Pisces by nature is super creative and imaginative, and the 5th house is creative and imaginative, being ruled by Leo. But here, there's going to be an opportunity for you to liberate yourself from some illusions or masks or self-deceptions based on your childhood experience. Liberate yourself. 4th house being Aquarius is going to give you an opportunity to, I want to say this gently, use the deep psychology that your sign represents to understand yourself better and your motivations. Again, this is never about judgment. It's never about criticism. But we see Saturn rules your 3rd house, and the 3rd house is coming into play because Pluto is at 29 degrees Capricorn, making a sextile to your 5th house where Venus sits at 29 degrees Pisces. And I really think this is about your self-worth in relation to your siblings, into how you've been treated in your workmates, your teammates, in your neighborhood, your family experience. For me, as I interpret the chart, the 1st house, you know, as you're born, you're discovering yourself and your body. When you're in the 5th house, you're discovering, the 2nd house, you're discovering food and your voice and being able to start to talk. And by the time you get to the 3rd house, you're discovering your home environment, you know, how you're wandering around your house and how you relate to your siblings. So there's something to be healed here, a mask to be lifted where you allow yourself to feel more valuable and empowered than you have before, because Pisces in the 5th house can also make you feel unseen in your creativity, or feel a little bit more giving up your power in some way in that energy. We see Mercury in at 12 degrees Aquarius making a square to your 7th house. So meaning Uranus is at 15 degrees Taurus. So this is again where I'm getting this feeling where as Mercury is in your Mercury being in Aquarius, making the square to Taurus, is telling me that there's something about your family dynamic that has somehow been influencing your partnerships over your lifetime. And as you allow for a new version of that, as you're aware of your thoughts, aware of the permission you give yourselves, Mercury is that sort of monkey human mind, and Uranus is sort of that out in the atmosphere, out in the cosmos way of thinking. So this is really an opportunity to liberate yourself. And this is not about villainizing the family experience or blaming anybody. It's just a point of information that may have expired, but you continue to bring it with you into the future. It's an opportunity to release some toxic waste. That's how that feels, because as Venus is making this sextile to Pluto, Pluto is wanting to to remove that toxic waste. Again, they're at the 29th degree. We're seeing the master number of thought playing in here. We're seeing Mercury and Uranus making this aspect. It's all has to do with our emotional body connected to, or putting the dots together between our emotional body and our intellectual body, and how those end up creating our experience, because we're going to see Mercury making a trine to Mars in your 8th house of transformation. So you're getting a real opportunity to be brave and dig deep into how you're thinking. And Mars is then making a sextile to Chiron in your 6th house of Aries. And Chiron's at the Aries degree. So your individuality, your who you are, and the hues and the all the different colors and aspects of who you are get to sort of be revisited in a way that transformed them in your mind to being something that's a powerful platform for creating abundance and for creating joy. Because Scorpio, Aries is your 6th house, and I immediately felt as if that 6th house was talking about any sort of stresses you feel, any sort of apologetic energies you have for your edges. You know, you have this incredible intuition and ability to see beyond the human mask. And you may have been villainized inadvertently by people who don't like that. So here's a real opportunity to reconcile that and turn that wound into a gift. All right, let's go on to our Sagittarius. Pisces is your 4th house, and Aquarius is your 3rd house. So this is giving you an opportunity on this new moon to set intentions for what you want to experience in your home life. I see these ones in, you know, I'm repeating myself with the assumption that a lot of you are just clicking on the timestamp. I should have said that at the beginning. I'll put timestamps. But I'm seeing so many ones and so many themes of thought, and thought are things. And I believe this is the Aquarian age being ushered in, our awareness in the human structure of that, and starting to implement those divine laws into our human structure. Because the 3rd house for me, Aquarius, there's a certain sense of liberating myself from what I have been taught, any small-mindedness. You know, Sagittarius is broad thinking. It's philosophical. It's humanitarian. It's at the, you know, there's a sense of education and intellectualism here that is kind of complementary to Aquarius. And here we see your 3rd house being Aquarius, thinking outside the box, thinking in broader terms. And the 4th house being your Pisces house gives you an opportunity to bring yourself to the forefront in how you feel at home versus putting yourself in maybe behind the scenes. Pisces is behind the scenes. It's also an opportunity to lift any illusions of how you've been labeled in the past, because Sagittarius by nature will be constantly evolving, because it's always interested in multi-diverse cultural experiences. It wants to go new places and absorb all the energies there. So you are naturally one to transform. So now you get to define how you feel at home. You get to define what it feels like when you feel comfort, supported, and nurtured. Because as this new moon allows you the opportunity to plant seeds, it's also giving you what a feeling, a glimpse as to what it's going to feel like in March when Saturn moves into your 4th house. And rather than thinking it's repressive, again, that human definition of Saturn, we get to remember that Saturn was a Titan. Titan is a god. A god does not operate on human structure. No, it doesn't make sense. So let muse on that a bit, because I think this is where the conversation between Pisces, Venus in Pisces at 29 degrees, sextile Pluto in Capricorn at 29 degrees is going to give you an opportunity to find your self-worth as you define it, as you like it, and start to really dig in that structure of building that new sense of home for yourself. Now we have Mercury, which is the planet that rules the house opposing you, is that little bit of that monkey mind. And here we see it in Aquarius at 12 degrees, making a square to your 6th house of Taurus. Taurus here kind of makes me feel as if it's an interesting energy because there's something again where I'm kind of getting this feeling. I'm not really going to the sixth house of self, of service or of health. I said self, but I meant health. I'm getting this theme of rewriting how I view myself. Taurus rules our self-worth as a result of our family experience when we're young. And this new moon is really kind of having this effect in your third and fourth house. That's siblings and home. And here Venus is having this conversation with Pluto in your second house of self-worth, which Taurus naturally rules. So I think there's something about Sagittarius that's starting to rewrite your beliefs. Even though we're not seeing any ninth house activity here, you're ninth house by nature. And here we're going to see Mercury at 12 degrees Aquarius, making that square to Uranus in your sixth house. So there's a liberation. And in that liberation, there's an opportunity for you to feel a sense of yourself that you haven't felt before. And I want to feel like a sense of calmness, because Mars has been traversing your seventh house of partnerships, which may have created some tensions and some angst, but I think it's also been an opportunity to sort of have your seventh house energy be, I think you've been learning about what you need. Sagittarius is a mutable sign, and I feel as if, having Gemini be your seventh house, you may be inadvertently been going back and forth between these high-minded thoughts and these low-minded thoughts about what is required of you in partnership. And Mars has been stoking this frustration in that. And I think maybe it's because you've been wanting to progress the story forward, and inadvertently, maybe people keep putting you back in that same spot. And you're like, excuse me, I'm a Sagittarius. I must travel. I need to travel from this energetic vibration. I don't want to be tethered to this, because Mars is making a sextile to Chiron in your fifth house of pleasure and joy. And I feel as if all of this feels very individualistic to me. I know that all these signs represent other dynamics and other people, but with the 1 degree new moon, and this is like the fourth 1 degree new moon in a row, Saturn's at 28 degrees, which reduces down to a 10. Aquarius is the 11th house. There's Venus in Pisces at 29 degrees, Pluto at 29 degrees, that reduces down to an 11. And then we have Gemini and Mars, Gemini going through Mars. So we've got this mercurial dynamic going on. I don't know what I just said with Gemini going through Mars. I meant Mars going through Gemini, but Mercury's making aspects again. So here, this is all about our thoughts and transforming those thoughts into tools that serve our manifestation. All right, Capricorn. This new moon is in your third house. Pisces is your third house. Saturn is your natural ruler. So I think this is an opportunity for you to rewrite what Saturn means. I'm going to start to get very excited about the idea that Saturn is a god and doesn't go by human rules, but rather by the rules of the divine laws of the universe. And I believe that in some respects here, this is an opportunity to remove any masks or illusions of fear, obligation, depression, responsibility to that which is not yours to pick up or carry. Your ruling planet Saturn is at 28 degrees, making a conjunction to this new moon in your second house of self-worth, naturally ruled by Taurus. So there's a rewriting here of who you are, and what you mean to yourself, because Capricorn is your first house. And we want to pay very strong attention to the idea that Pluto is at the anaretic degree, 29 degrees on this new moon, and it's making a sextile to Venus in Pisces. And this is so important because this is really about how you give yourself permission to build structures for yourself based on what you find valuable, what you love, what you want to have represent who you are in the world, not your obligations in the world. Because Mercury is going to be making aspects to your 5th, 6th, and 4th house. First, Mercury is having a square in your 5th house of Taurus, which is about, the 5th house rules fun, it rules pleasure, it rules frivolity and romance and the conception of children. But, Capricorn is not often thought of as the baby goat, although I will refer to it that way all the time. It's often seen as a very restrictive and repressive energy. And I think this is the human structure superimposed upon Saturn as Saturn has evolved beyond his challenging characteristics. And why he represents things like karma and time and history, because we evolve over time and history. And it's an opportunity now for the humans to start to implement this evolved structure. Because when we see Mercury having this tense conversation with Uranus, this is here in your 2nd house of self-worth and what you've been traditionally, maybe potentially even rewarded for versus what you want for yourself, your 5th house energy. And I believe that a square is the imprinted, one side is the imprint, the knee-jerk reaction, the unconscious platform with which I make my choices on. And then the other side of the square is this more aware and innovative side, but it's not tested, it's not rooted. So it creates tension for me. Now, Mercury at the same time is making a trine to Mars in Gemini. Be brave with your thoughts. Gemini is your 6th house. You could not be of better service to anyone else in the world as you allow yourself to transform and allow yourself to see the value of your own service to yourself that then is service to others. Because Mars is making a sextile to Chiron at the Aries degree, 13 degrees in your 4th house in Aries. So being brave about being more concerned about your personal reaction and how you feel about this versus how the family feels about it. And I'm not saying to just throw everybody's opinion away. It's more about really putting the percentages of other people's influence and all of that duty and all of that obligation and all of that limitation as a result of the duty to others. And is that really serving those other people? Or is it serving them on a human superficial level that when you instead take Saturn, the Titan, the God that he is, and superimpose those divine perceptions and perspectives of looking at the structure of our universe, are we not creating magic and something sustainable? Very, very powerful. All right, Aquarius. Pisces is your 2nd house, and this new moon is in your 2nd house, and this could be a real opportunity for you to set intentions for feeling your brilliance and genius birthed out into the world, your voice, because Saturn has been going through your 1st house, which it co-rules. And again, Saturn is at 28 degrees. So we're seeing Pisces new moon at 1 degrees, Saturn at 28 degrees. There's a real opportunity to be aware of my thoughts and allowing me to lift any masks or any feelings of being exiled because I don't fit in with the crowd or the herd. I oftentimes ask myself when I feel lonely and there's people that I know in my life that I'm not connected to anymore. And I ask myself, was I comfortable in those relationships? Could I be myself in those relationships? Could I feel a sense of peace in them? And the truth was no. And yet at the same time, those people represented on a human structure what would appear to be safety to the outside world. So here, I think there's a real opportunity for Aquarius to lift any illusions and start to be creative in how you perceive yourself and your self-worth. Because Capricorn is your 12th house and Pisces is your 2nd house, and Venus is in Pisces at 29 degrees. Pluto is in Capricorn at 29 degrees. And I think this is an opportunity for you to really make sense of any karmic ancestral energies that have affected your self-worth and held you back from birthing yourself out into the world in a way that is truly powerful and plays to the hopes and the dreams that you have. Because every time a soul incarnate in the human structure gives itself permission to live its hopes and dreams without guarantee from other humans, it is an inspiring and it is a motivating energy for others. Because we have Mercury making aspects to your 4th, 5th, and 3rd house. So here we're seeing Mercury making an aspect 12 degrees Aquarius, which is in your 1st house, making an aspect to Uranus in your 4th house. So this is your 1st house energy versus your family energy. And it's a tense square, but I think if you're willing to liberate yourself, I think your family and your homeland and the things that you feel like home will benefit, because Mercury is making a trine to Mars in your 5th house. Here's your expression in your 5th house of Gemini, your self-expression, your creativity, your fun. All of this feels as if, again, this is the house of leadership, the 5th house. This is naturally ruled by Leo. So as we stand in that leadership, I really think that the 5th house enjoyment, this is what I like, this is what I enjoy, this is how I define myself, this is how I feel connected to others. And I'm really starting to integrate the elements when I felt exiled and realized that maybe I was trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Maybe I was, viewing myself and wanting to fit in places I really don't even enjoy that much, because I think that's what this whole period of time is about. And when Mars makes its sextile to Chiron in your 3rd house, I think it's going to liberate you from any perceptions you have about the small community and their view of who you are and what you should be and how you should show up and what are the rules of engagement. That's where I'm going to go. All right, Pisces. This new moon is in your 1st house, and it is making an aspect to Saturn as he's about to move into your 1st house in just a few weeks. So this is an opportunity to plant spiritual seeds of liberation from the stories and the ancestral DNA stuff that we bring from lifetime after lifetime into this experience. You naturally rule the 12th house here, but here I'm going to kind of put this as you plant the seeds for a new version of yourself, a new creative, willing to lift the masks of disempowerment, being more compassionate to others and more empathetic to others than you are to yourself. Then you are going to put that 12th house Aquarius energy into its liberated dynamic. And Saturn is going to reward that as your thinking shifts, because Capricorn is your 11th house. And I can't help but seeing this theme between your 1st house is Pisces, and Pisces is the 1st degree new moon. Capricorn, who's ruled by Saturn, is your 11th house. Saturn's at 28 degrees Aquarius. Aquarius is the 11th house, but it's your 12th house. There is an opportunity for you to recalibrate your thinking in a way that allows you to be a flying fish versus feeling like you have to swim away from things. Because as Pluto is making this 29th degree sextile to Venus in your 1st house at 29 degrees, again, 29 reduces down to a 1 or 11. 11 is the master number of thought. There is so much power in you being able to look at the trials, the tribulations where you have felt unseen and ask yourself, do I see myself? Is part of these trials and tribulations that the 12th house represents me giving up so much of myself and so much energy in my compassion and empathy for others that I'm not giving myself compassion, which ultimately makes me feel depleted and just want to go to sleep and mask it all out and escape from it all. Because Mercury, the planet of thought, is making aspects to your 2nd, 4th, and 3rd house. I should have said that differently, but Taurus is your 3rd house. Again, the 3rd house rules the mind. what I speak, what I think, how I engage in my community. And Mercury and Uranus are the two octaves of thought. Uranus being the more inventive and technologically advanced, kind of out there in the cosmos, and then Mercury ruling our everyday activities in the third house of Taurus. So this is giving you an opportunity to really identify that this 10th square is an old version of yourself, really wanting to be birthed into a new version of yourself. Now we see that Mars is making a trine to this Mercury, and Mars is in Gemini in your 4th house. So I believe this is an opportunity to rewrite the categories, the labels, the defining terms that people have used for you within your home structure. And if part of that is that you're the one they always go to when they need something, you're the one they always dump their troubles onto, you're just this open vessel and you're not getting anything back, this is where Mars's sextile to Chiron in Aries in your 2nd house can have you say, wait a minute, I'm tired of this and I'm ready to release this. I'm ready to release myself not seeing myself or putting myself in the mix or on the list or in a place of priority, because the 2nd house is your voice and Aries is your 2nd house, giving you an opportunity to express your voice and creatively, if indeed you've held yourself back creatively and you haven't allowed yourself to sing or dance or write that poetry or film that movie, I hope that you'll start to revisit these ideas, because I think this is what Saturn is going to want from you over the next 2.5 years, to take your creativity and to build some strong structure. And that structure is going to be how you feel about yourself and where you get your self-worth from, and really kind of taking a more sober look and somber look at if you are allowing yourself to define yourself or you're allowing others to define you, and in many ways to their hidden agenda, what they may need from you versus what's really good for you. All right, that's it for this new moon. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me and putting up with my lisp and my Saturn messing with my back tooth. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer. Please like, please subscribe, please comment. I try to respond to everybody's comments. I definitely read them all. So thank you so much for that. Be sure to hit the notification bell and join me Sunday mornings live at 11 a.m. Pacific time when we do our getting the angels' advice for traversing the weeks ahead's transits. And when we meet next week, we will be on that Pisces new moon. So I'll see you all then, everybody. Peace out.